Now do the same with something positive and rejoice in it. Next. Think of some specific thing that you've seen someone else, especially in your Dharma group, do. And that's exemplary. Something small is okay. Even if they're not normally doing something exemplary, as far as you can see, then still try to think of something that they're doing well and rejoice in it. Then ask for teachings, request teachings, either formally or in your day-to-day life from the people around you. Ask for the blessing to be able to recognize teachings going on around you. And the last thing, ask holy beings to stay near you, stay around you. They can't stay unless you have the karma to force them to stay. I call it angel flypaper. It's a devotion of asking them to stay, you see? And the good karma of that forces them to stay. So it doesn't work any more than Tonglen to ask them to stay. They can't stay unless you're pure enough to see them stay. But the sincere request to them often, over and over again, that they do stay, creates so much good karma, it forces them to stay. So it does work, but not the way you thought it did. By the way, the first way of working, that you ask them and they stay because they want to stay, is a self-existent staying. And that never existed and it can never exist. The second way of staying, which means they have to stay because of your good karma from asking them to stay and believing in them, is dependently originating staying. And that definitely exists. So what I'm trying to say is, they don't stay the way you used to think they stayed, but they have to stay when you do it the right way. And that's ask them over and over again, understanding the fact that it's your devotion which forces them to stay. Next. That's my favorite part. I hate to see them thirsty. Maybe they fit in here. How's that? Better? Hmm. Better? Okay. Next. By the way, at the end of the preliminaries, your mind should be all fresh and you feel clean and pure and happy and ready to start meditation. And that's the function of it. If you don't, then you're probably not doing it very seriously. You see, I mean, don't make it perfunctory. You know, don't let your Buddhism become a ritual. You know, think about it and enjoy it. Okay. So go back to your breath. Next. Today we'll choose the object of Tonglen and choose someone you're having a lot of problems with. Okay. Take some time and choose somebody. By the way, the emptiness of this person is that they don't have a nature of being unpleasant from their own side. It's coming from your side. Someone in the world loves them. Okay. And they can change into someone you really like if you clean up your own karma. And doing Tonglen to them helps a lot. So choose some suffering that they have. And see it as a black ball. Next. Decide to take it away from them and bring it to you in about 10 breaths, a little bit each time. Up out of their throat and out of their nose. Into your nose and down your throat. And for now you keep it in front of your face and look, focus in your heart, see a red flame. And connect it to some selfish thing you thought or did this morning or yesterday evening. Then get ready to, next. Get ready to bring the ball in to the flame. And when it hits the flame, there's going to be a blink out of the flame and the ball going up in smoke, being destroyed. The smoke fades away. And then this is just this white light immediately, like turning on a light in a room. It fills your chest. Okay, go ahead. And then breathe normally and watch the white light in your chest and focus on this person. I think this is the essence of learning compassion. And it's such a holy thing, and it's the last thing you'd ever think to do is to do something great for your enemy or someone you don't like. And I think if you practice this particular meditation over and over again, we could get bodhicitta. So focus on them and enjoy their success at this moment and their comfort at this moment. Then concentrate on, next. Go back to your breath and see it as white light, a cloud of white light being pushed in and out of your lungs. Very important to keep the meditation moving. If you get bogged down, you'll get tired, your knees will start to hurt, you'll run out of time, and you won't enjoy it as much. Then extend the breath, make it longer at the end on the out breath by about 2 inches out in front of your face. Okay, the breath, you're visualizing the breath is going straight out in front of your face and not down. Make sure your chin is up, make sure your head is straight. Relax your mouth, relax your forehead. Let your shoulders drop about 1 inch. Now at the end of the out breath, push it out slightly longer, gently, a few more inches. And don't suck it in on the way back. Take your time on the way back in. Don't hold your breath. And pause very slightly on the out breath and at the end of the out breath, and very slightly pause on the end of the in breath. It's like a swimmer that's flipping over at the end of a lap and kicking against the wall. Now focus again on that person that you don't like much, and imagine that your breath is at the very end, it's going into their nose, down their throat, into their lungs. By the way, the back end of the breath is still in the bottom of your lungs. And then you suck it back in and it comes out of them. And then you suck it, and then you send it back into them. It still looks like white light. And imagine that the light is starting to purify them from the inside. And all their inner organs are transforming. And then slowly, during the 10 breaths, see their body gradually from the inside out, changing into a body of light, pure light. It still has, by the way, features, it still has colors. They still have a face, which is a very beautiful face, and their body is very, very beautiful and healthy. It's not like you can't see them anymore, or something like that. It's just that the outer appearance is this beautiful, beautiful colors, beautiful features, but the substance of which they are made is light. It's not flesh and bone and blood anymore. So do 10 breaths like that. We'll do 10 really slow breaths. See them changing from the inside. And take your breath back to normal, and just while you're breathing 10 breaths normally, enjoy what they are, enjoy seeing them as pure and enlightened. Then focus again on your Lama. Make it fun, make them beautiful, happy, bright, perfect, enlightened. And ask them to come and be inside you. And they start to float up in the air, and while they're floating up, they start to shrink. And then by the time they get to the top of your head, they're 3 or 4 inches high. They're facing the same way as you, and they're seated on your top of your head. And then prepare a nice seat for them at your heart. Huge flower. They say a sun cushion. You take the sun, you flatten it out, shrink it, put it in the middle of the flower. And then ask them if they would bless you during the day, and they agree, and they start to shrink again. And then they start to melt down into your head. They sink down into the top of your head. They come straight down, a little bit like an inch in front of your backbone, straight. And then down into your heart, to that flower. And imagine that they're very happy with you. And they agree to help you all day long. And then again, I would like to dedicate this to the spreading of pure Dharma in our country. And especially that it not be restricted to a small group of people, but we find ways to present it in a clear and accurate but accessible way to normal people. Okay, we'll do that verse. Okay. Then we'll take a break after that, okay? What you like, it's okay. I like yours. Okay, have like a 10-15 minute break. We'll start again. Sorry. I'm just going to mention the categories we've been through, and then it's a custom in our lineage to review them before we end today. So I have one more category to go, and we'll lead up to it, okay? The first discussion we had was, where does the practice of giving and taking fit into the Buddhist path? And we in the reading you'll see how it fits into the Lam Rim teachings, basically. I'm just going to go through the names of the contemplations. The next one was, where does giving and taking fit into the idea of compassion and love? Okay. The next one was the benefits of these practices. You know, what happens if you do them? The next one was the original text from the first Panchen Lama about this practice. Two verses, right? The next one was a little debate about which one comes first, and we decided it should be called Lentong, okay? Next there was a commentary on the first section from the Lama Chöpa. Next there was a commentary on the second section from the Lama Chöpa. Next was some more detail about the breath, how you move the breath. And then some detail on how to take the sufferings. Okay, what sufferings? 10th one was some extra details. These are just small details that didn't fit in anywhere else, okay? About the blackness, about how it feels, and about trying to take your lama's suffering, which is impossible, okay? Can you give them things? Sure, all right? Can you take from them things? No. Okay, nothing to take, but of course you can offer them all kinds of blissful experiences. Can you offer them any blissful experience they didn't already have? No. Does it help them to offer them more blissful experiences? No. They have infinite number already. So why do it? It helps you. It helps you to imagine it, okay? The 11th was, what do you give to people? All the range of things you can give away when you do the Dong part. The 12th one I think is very important. Americans, thank goodness, are logical, and we demand that things make sense. There are countries in the world where Buddhism has gone where they don't demand that. But Americans demand it, and it's good. So the 12th contemplation was, how does this thing really work? And how does it not work? Okay, because I think otherwise you would get a generation, 3 generations from now, of young Buddhists in America rejecting Buddhism, I went to temple, I did Tonglen, Aunt Joan still died, this stuff doesn't work, and that's not how it works, okay? The 13th was, by the way, contemplations 13 and 14 and a few others you don't get today because we didn't finish them last night. So we'll mail them to Don, and you'll have to fit them into the back of your book. All right? We'll try to finish them in the next few days, but normally things are pretty crazy. The 13th was how to make meditation on giving and taking an all-day practice. Okay. Next one, where did it go? Next one was how to use Tonglen when bad things happen to you. Okay. And then the last one was, where did you go? How to use it when you die, at death. All right. Then the very last one was a lot of references to Tonglen that came up in the Tantric scriptures. We've input about 500 Tantric scriptures. And there were a lot of beautiful notes. So the last subject I'm going to talk about is the relationship to Tantra. Okay, the relationship of Tonglen to Tantra. I can't talk about Tantra publicly, and I never will. But I can give you some hints, all right? Because those are fun. Okay. First of all, just in general, some comments about Tantra. I think this is all it seems to me, okay? I'm saying it seems to me, all right? So I don't break any vows. I just did a blanket, it seems to me, all right? It seems to me that perhaps many Americans have taken some kind of initiation, secret initiation, and in the Tantric text it says if you don't do it right, it's very, very harmful to you and to your teacher. the person who gave you that initiation, and very harmful to the person who took the initiation. If you don't keep it nicely, it's very bad for both parties. Scripture says your head will split open. I think a much more terrible thing is happening sometimes, which is that nothing happens. You see what I mean? To me, that's more, I don't know, terrible than your head splitting open. If your head split open, at least you'd believe it was powerful stuff. You know what I mean? But I think what's happening, seems to me, in America a lot is you get an initiation and you don't really know what to do with it, and then nothing happens. And then people try. There's two categories of people. I'd say 80% of the people give up after a while. They just sort of, it fades away in their life. They don't try to do it very seriously. Then there's 20% of fanatical people who just hang on to it like a dog with a bone. And they do those prayers over and over and over again. But it seems to me it may not have a very profound effect on them. You say, do you do your sadhanas every morning? And like 20% of the people say, yeah. Ever since I got that initiation, I've been doing it. Then you say, what's happening with you? Anything amazing happening with you? And they say, not really. I'm waiting, for something to happen. You know what I mean? It seems to me that that's the case. That either means that Tantra doesn't work, or that we're not doing it right. You see what I mean? One of two possibilities. First of all is the how does Tantra work? Okay, how would it work? The goal of Tantra, and it's not secret, is that you achieve Buddhahood in one lifetime. That within this lifetime, you enter a body which is totally light. Like body we just made for that guy you don't like. I didn't think he really deserved it, but anyway. But that you enter a body like that, and that your world changes into a holy world. And it's made possible because of emptiness. Okay, you got that now, right? It's possible. If you were a candle from your own side, or if you were a chewable object from your own side, you could never change to the other. You see what I mean? But since you are empty, and since you don't have any nature of your own, everything is possible. Okay, you are seeing your life go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, because your karma is mixed. You have bad karma and good karma mixed, and one wears out, and then the other one asserts itself. I call it the planes on the runway theory. You see, your karma is waiting like planes on the runway, and then one takes off and goes, and it's gone, and then the next one takes off and it goes and it's gone. And then your karmas are the same. You can push certain karmas up with certain activities, you can depress certain karmas, you can even shunt a karma off to a hanger and it'll never ripen. That's the idea of purification. But your life right now is bad karmas and good karmas mixed up, and they're ripening like that. That's why your life goes up and down. And that's what samsara is, and we want to stop it. So the idea is how to collect some powerful good karma. I would say that how do you get into Tantra? You see what I mean? How do you get into Tantric teachings? Do you go to an initiation by some lama? And that's, I mean, the pattern in the United States is that. It's that a lama, normally a high lama comes from India. There's an announcement at a Dharma center that this lama is coming there. Normally they're only there for a few days. They give an initiation to a large group of people, like 10 to 50 people or something, or more. They don't necessarily know the people very well. And in fact, probably by definition, they don't know them very well. It's oftentimes in Tibetan. I've had frequently people come to me and say, I took initiation, I don't even know what it is. I don't know what initiation it was, much less what I agreed to do. You know, I really have no idea what I'm supposed to do. And the lamas try hard, you know, normally they're trying hard to give you everything before they have to go to the next city. And oftentimes it's an all-night thing, or they're trying very hard to pump it into you and then they go. And then oftentimes there's nobody left behind who can explain it to you very clearly. And that's the way it's been happening. And then the tragedy, I think, is that nothing happens. You see what I mean? It'd be okay if your head split open, you say, wow, that was really something powerful, I better work on that. But if what happens is that nothing happens, you get very... And then the whole magic goes out of Tantra. You say, well, I guess this stuff doesn't really work. Or if you think, I'm going to sit down for 2.5 hours and recite that thing. And then you do it for a while and nothing happens. And then you just feel sort of... I think people get... The worst thing that can happen, I think, is to start to lose faith in Tantra. Not because you think it's crazy or dirty or something like that, but that you just think it doesn't do anything. To me, that's worse than having some terrible thing happen. You have nothing happen is the worst thing. You see what I mean? It's my assertion that if you study Lamrim well, if you study open Buddhism very, very well, and if you practice it sincerely, it would naturally lead you to Tantra. You see what I mean? Tantra would start to happen to you automatically. You see what I mean? If you practice the Lamrim very, very well and very sincerely, the last step of the Lamrim is Dorje Tepe La Lo Jongwe Tsu, you know, getting into Tantra. Tumon Lam Jan Nu De Gyopan Tepa Gungi Chogyo Dorje Tek, you know. Once you've practiced the common path, the path which is shared by Tantra and open teachings, which is the Lamrim, it thrusts you into Tantra. You see what I mean? So really, it's a self-initiation, okay? What I'm saying is that if your Lamrim practice is serious and pure, you will naturally move into Tantra, okay? You do technically need an initiation. How do you get an initiation? You see, initiations are also empty. There's 3 spheres to initiations. If you're not very pure, and if you haven't prepared yourself very well with Lamrim, you will probably bump into one of these 2 days initiations. You know what I mean? Somebody will come into town, you'll get some initiation, you don't know what to do, they leave, you're left with nothing, or some minor thing. That's what I would call a lousy karmic result initiation. You see what I mean? You did get initiation, but the whole experience and the whole thing and the whole future potential of it is very small. Then there would be like a medium level initiation. You do have the karma to take the initiation from this Lama, and fortunately you have the karma to be around them for a while, and they start to explain to you the practices and the vows and everything else. I would call that like a medium level initiation. Okay, that means that your Lamrim practice was pretty good. Okay, then I would say a highest level initiation, you know, which means that your Lamrim practice and your study and your meditation and your keeping your vows, your bodhisattva vows and your normal vows, your pratimoksha vows, you did it very, very well, very, very seriously. And then I would say real tantric initiation happens, which is that secretly your secret lama comes to you and they impart to you personally secretly these things, and then you keep them secretly, and no one else may ever know that you received that, and that would be the best way, you see. And you can't force that, you can't buy that. You can't go to somewhere in India and get that. The only way to get that to happen to you is to keep your vows very, very pure. You know, to learn your bodhisattva vows and to learn the vows, the refuge vows, commitments, and to keep the book. What I'm saying is the book is like a magnet, and I'm not kidding, and I'm speaking from my heart. You know, the book is like a magnet. You know, if you keep it sincerely and regularly, they must come to you. You see, it's very cool. You know, people are worried. Oh, I haven't met my root lama. I can't find my root lama. You know, when are they going to come? You know, or I can't be near my root lama. You know, I have a feeling who they are, but they're like 100 miles away or 1,000 miles away, or they're busy all the time and I can't see them enough and stuff like that. You know, that book is like a magnet. You know, keep your book pure. Keep your vows purely, and then they must come. You see what I mean? They don't have any choice. It's fly paper. It's Lama fly paper, okay? And I'm not kidding, you know. My root Lama, I waited, and I actually had the experience, I can say honestly, of sitting outside of their house for a month to see them once. Literally sitting near their house and waiting, and then they came out for 5 minutes, you know, and I remember sitting on the stoop and crying. But you keep your book very sincerely, right? And that's really how to get into Tantra, you know. And then it works. And then everything works. And you can't even imagine what nice things happen. You know, wonderful things happen. And you can't even... you have something in the back of your mind, like what it would be like if Manjushri walked into the room, you know. You kind of fantasize about it sometimes, but you literally can't imagine what it would be like, you know what I mean? And so that's all. That's real Tantra, right? But you have to keep your book, you know. They're not kidding when they say you have to master the Lam first, you know. But I think it's misstated slightly. I think they should say, if you do the Lam Rim well, you force Tantra to happen. You see what I mean? It's not like you do Lam Rim and you sit and wait. It's that doing the Lam Rim is the first part of Tantra. How's that? You know, that's the real initiation, okay, is to do Lam Rim. Okay. Where does this Tonglen fit into your Tantric practice if you're doing one already? I can't talk about it in great detail, but if you know the Kyrims, it fits into Joa Dapin Nyanjor. All the texts say that Joa Dapin Nyanjor is Bok Jimba is a very weird word in Tibetan, but it means to throw gasoline on a fire. How's that? Or something like that. You know, if you use Tonglen as the basis of Joab Dapin Nyanjor, it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. And whatever is the power of that section of the Kirim, it blows up. I mean, it gets 100,000 times more powerful, you know. What makes it more powerful? Your motivation, which I can tell you without breaking any secrets. You know, your motivation is obviously to get yourself enlightened in this lifetime and to do it for other people. I think my other opinion about Tantra is that even those Americans who believe in it and who are practicing it on a normal basis are not taking enough risk with it. You know what I mean? And it's your goal to get enlightened in this lifetime. That's going to take some kind of extraordinary. You have to go for it, is what I'm saying. And you can't hang out in a sadhana for your whole life. You know, that's the foundation, but that's not the whole thing. There are things with Lama Neljo that you have to do relating to your Lama. There are attitudes, and there are some kind of surrender that has to be there, and trust, and then you have to go for it. And then you must seriously seek the teachings on Dzogchen. And you don't have much time. You know, there's this thing about, I don't know, it's this weird karma of getting stuck in Kirim. There's 2 stages to Tantra. You should go to stage number 2 as soon as you're ready. To do it prematurely is very improper. But to sit there and not go for it is also irresponsible. You see what I mean? You don't have much time. Other people are waiting. You see what I mean? Other people are waiting for you. Every day that goes by, more people died. You know, more people are beyond your reach every hour of your life. There's more people that are thrust beyond your capacity to help them. And it's your responsibility at a certain point to go for it. And somehow you're being irresponsible if you don't. You see what I mean? What you're really saying is that you guys can suffer for a while more while I take my sweet time. You see what I mean? I'm not ready to do this sadhana 4 hours a day. I'm not ready to, you know, I'm busy. You know, I have a job and I have kids and, you know what I mean? Or those practices seem a little hard to me or something like that. Or I don't have time to do a retreat. Could you guys just suffer another few years? And, you know what I mean? That's basically what you're saying. If you don't go for it, it's irresponsible towards other people. You know, the people who are suffering and waiting for you to come. I don't know how to say it. It's inconsiderate of their suffering. You know, and it's also some kind of disrespect to Tantra. You're like saying, I don't believe this can really work, so I'm not really going to try to go to really pull it off in this lifetime. You know, I'd just kind of cruise around the sadhana for a while and, you know, do a few mantras now and again. And you see what I mean? There are people suffering, real suffering, and you, among all Americans, you know, there's 250 million Americans, there's only a few hundred who have the opportunity to pull it off in this lifetime. And it's your job. And it's your responsibility to do it, okay? Okay, maybe we do Tonglen, yeah? Okay. You have like half an hour, I think. Whoa.
Forever, you know, it's an ongoing question about, you know, that happens here at the center, where people want to know how much of the long run do I need to know to take that step forward, or should I rely on the teacher to tell me when I can't get to the teacher? How do I, you know, because, I mean, frankly, almost everyone who comes to the center has had teachings on the 3 principal tasks, because that teaching comes up once or twice a year and has for 6 or 7 years now, almost. So, you know, I'm wondering, what is it? Is there an internal sign that someone is ready to step into Tantra? What is I mean, a perfect realization of the 3 principles would be ideal, obviously, but what is an acceptable, you know, level of knowledge and whatever motivation to step into Tantra?
I think, so Don asked, when do you know you're ready for Tantra? How good do you have to be at Lamrim to be ready for Tantra? I think tantric experiences start happening as a result of Lamrim. They're a natural outgrowth of Lamrim. And Rome wasn't built in a day, so you do go through those steps that I mentioned. First, things seem to improve a little bit. When your practice is going correctly, things seem to improve. I define it as 4 stages, okay? There's some enhancement in your life. Things taste better, the world looks brighter, people are more happy, your work goes better, you're better able to solve problems. Life is improving. If your practice is sweet, there's some enhancement in your life begins, okay? Then I call it the surprising stage. Surprising things happen. Surprising good things start to happen. In a very stupid way, you get a raise you didn't expect, something you were working on, you have some kind of a breakthrough, you meet a really great Lama that you didn't even know about, and suddenly they're there, and things like that. They call it the surprising stage. Then there's the amazing stage, I'm serious, where quite amazing things start happening. And by the way, each time you go from one stage to the other, your faith is getting bigger, and you're more encouraged. And then you go back and study harder because you say, hey, this stuff really works, And at a certain point, there's like confirmation. There's tiny confirmation, then there's considerable confirmation, and then there's major confirmation. That's like the amazing stage, where you're like, wow, this stuff really works. By the way, if these things aren't happening to you, either Buddhism is wrong or you ain't doing it right. And Master Shantideva, as I said the other day, the guy comes up and says, I've been very generous and nothing's happening, He says, tell me about how generous you are. I said, I gave $5 to the guy and nothing's happened, He's like, yeah, right, He's like, he's very clear about it, he's very strong about it. He says, if nothing's happening, it's because you're not really doing it, Or else Buddhism is defective. Or else there's no dependent radiation, there's no emptiness, there's no Lamrim, there's no enlightened beings, That's the only other choice. Or all this stuff is extremely powerful, and frankly, you're just not doing it. You know what I mean? But if you keep your book, for example, sincerely, those 4 stages, enhancement of your life, surprising things in your life, then amazing things in your life, like incredible things happening in your life. I know on the financial level, millions of dollars of things happening. On a spiritual level, meeting extremely qualified, fine teachers. On an intellectual level, boom, 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 boom. I'm starting to understand everything, put your mind on emptiness, boom, understand that. Read another text, boom, oh, I get it, and all these things, I call it popcorn. Really, it's like boom, 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 boom. And it starts, how when popcorn is getting, I love popcorn. It's like it starts out, duck, and then duck, that's the surprising stage, okay? And then it's like going, and really, your own mind starts to pop, and things are popping, and holy things, beautiful things are starting, and then that's the amazing stage. Then, frankly, there's a supernatural stage where, things that shouldn't be, things that are not possible begin to happen. Miraculous things start to happen, and then you're getting very close to your Buddha paradise. You know what I mean? And internally, impossible things start to happen, and then externally, impossible things start to totally impossible things. Miraculous things. And what I'm saying is that you go through this happened gradually. You see what I mean? And what I meant to say about what's your question, the reason I'm talking about this is that as you shade from Lamrim into Tantra, it's so gradual that you're not sure of yourself. You see what I mean? Like, you have doubts, and you're not quite sure if you're ready for this, and on the other hand, you have this feeling like, I better get going because I might die, and I'm letting down other people. You know what I mean? There's this tension between, I know I have to get on with this, and I'm starting to feel strong enough to do it. And then there's this, because the karma because the karma is transforming over slowly, the way it must, you're in a limbo stage. You know, it's an uncomfortable point. You're halfway between Lamrim and finishing up your Lamrim and Tantra, you know, and then you start to practice Tantra, but you have setbacks, you know, like your renunciation wasn't quite strong enough, your bodhicitta wasn't quite strong enough, your understanding of emptiness wasn't quite strong enough, but it's so strong that you must do something. You see what I mean? And you know it. You know, you must get into this. And so you're like taking little baby steps into it, and then you have little disasters happen, because you're phasing over to those teachings. And that's the most, I think that's probably the most uncomfortable point, is when you're phasing over, because you know you got to go there, and a lot of wonderful things are happening. But then your three principal paths are not so strong yet that it feels comfortable. And what I'm trying to say is that's totally natural. If you think about it, it's not like you're going to suddenly jump in one morning from this to that. You know, there will be an uncomfortable transition period, and expect it, and it'll make you more comfortable with it. Okay, all right, and that's all. Real Tantra, you'll know you're ready when it starts to happen to you. You see what I mean? And you'll get indications, and not from any external source. They'll come from inside of you. You know, and I think you'll know that you're not quite ready if it's not making you happier. Okay, that's a pretty good barometer. You know, if it's bringing you more joy, and you feel cleaner, and you feel more. This is sometimes joy as a good barometer to know if you're ready to do that yet. I would say if you get some kind of tantric teaching and it doesn't bring you joy, if you feel obligated, or you feel I don't know how to say, someone's created a new obligation for you and you feel almost hassled by it, then I'd say you're probably not ready yet. You see what I mean? It should be the whole process of moving into Tantra should be accompanied by a great deal of happiness. You see what I mean? And joy. And if it doesn't feel like that, I think you might not be ready yet. If it feels like an obligation, or a hassle, or uncomfortable, or confusing, or something like that, I think if there's no joy, if there's not a steady increase of your personal happiness, then maybe it's not quite time yet. Or maybe it's not the right initiation for you, or something like that. And when you connect with that Lama, and when it's obviously the sweetest thing in the world to do, then do it that way. You know what I mean? That's all. That's all. You will have doubts. I mean, doubt is the ultimate enemy in those teachings. And the reason they spend so much time discussing it is because it happens. And then your Lamrim has to be really good, or you will get doubts about it. By the way, the doubts are not like you look at His Holiness and say, I doubt this guy. The doubt comes in a worse form, which is that you don't think about it, or it doesn't work, or nothing happens, or you don't feel happy, or, that's the worst thing. I mean, I repeat, the biggest tragedy of American Tantra is all of these people who got initiations and nothing happened. No popcorn, no nothing. Just kind of boring to sit there and try to visualize these pictures, or something like that. That's the real tragedy. If it ever gets like that, then you have to more seriously seek out the meaning of it and practice Lamrim. Okay. Is that an answer? No, I guess. Okay. All right. Ready? I guess what I'm trying to say is you'll know when it's the right time. And you won't have to seek it much. It will come to you. Like a magnet. Know your vows.